So, up for future. And my name is Jurry De La Mar for T-Systems. When my colleagues in the consortium asked me to do this part of the speech, I said, oh, great. Yeah, it's wonderful to talk about future, right? Can make a lot of promises, and the others have to deliver. But yeah, a couple of seconds later, they told me, yeah, but we will be writing the slides. So, not that I'm promising too much, or not that I'm promising anything that we did not discuss in detail in the consortium. So first of all, I have to say thank you, for wonderful flagship presentations. It was really a joy for us to work on that. And I think it was also really an essential part for us to get, of course, feedback on what we have been able to build together over the last 2 years, but also feedback on what is next, what is needed to further develop these different models. You have seen the flagships all have each very particular characters and its requirements, and that for us was really, I think, a true a gift to use these very diverse requirements together with our own experience from the cloud market that we are, of course, addressing also in the enterprise business. So these knowledge combined gave us a very good picture of where we can go next. So let me give you some information. And as you probably have recognized from all those presentations today, Helix Nebula was at the first place something to address the infrastructure piece, to really make this step from, say, the single provider or single cloud environment all the way into a federated and European cloud environment that can be made available to users. A very important step. But we see it as the fundament. Usually it takes, also when you build a house or you design a house, it takes quite a bit of work to get the architecture right and of course to build the fundament, but the real fun comes of course after that. So we believe the first step is done, but the next steps will be for, I think, cloud computing experts in an understandable way, fulfilling, of course, the other requirements that you have in the cloud model, which first come into the area of connecting databases, setting up metadata, enabling soft service-oriented architectures as we know them from the classical IT world, really giving people the tools to do all the things they do today in their environment. And you have seen from the flagships, the beauty was, of course, that these organizations had the power to run all these tools as they do it in their organizations on the Helix Nebula infrastructure. But we imagine, of course, that growing the Helix Nebula customer base, several users will need, of course, pre-installed platform tools to make it happen in a similar way for their environment. Maybe they will not have the expertise, maybe they will not have the experience with particular cloud tools, how this can be run. So this will be a key focus for us to extend Helix Nebula with platform as a service. And that, of course, in itself is also not a final end game. We see very well from the ESA example, information as a service as one of the key elements. And in Helix Nebula, we also, one part of the project for the Commission was to look at business models, which business models could profit the most from large-scale federation in Europe. And what we found out there is that also information as a service is one of the probably highest potential models to develop as an application on top of this. And for that, of course, other tools on the marketplace or software as a service level, as we call it in cloud, probably needed, like discovery functions, composition functions, some of the things you have seen in the ESA presentation. And it doesn't stop at information as a service. I think we have here a very good example of this one, but other models were identified, and some of the very high potential ones are like application crowd, as we call it, where, say, instead of giving your application development to a predefined team of software developers, you would basically tender for it in a cloud environment to get hundreds of developers to contribute in an, say, managed environment, of course, in a managed development environment, to develop an application in the cloud rather than developing it in a company. And other areas which we are looking at is also in the public sector very relevant. You know that the European Commission is very much behind smart cities, developing smart cities, using new tools to make cities better in a position to offer new citizen services. And as an example here, if I might build on the case of ESA again, one could only imagine for citizens living in critical areas, maybe subject to floods, as we have it also in Europe in many areas, floods being the worst nightmare for many people, or landslides. It would be excellent, of course, if such services could be delivered based on ESA data, as it is technically possible by just on your smartphone through an app. And you could subscribe to it if it's relevant to you in your area to have a landslide service or a flood service, and be, say, alerted once things get really dangerous or would affect your environment. So these are very much the progress that we see beyond. And to fill that with life, I think it's very important, especially if you work in a consortium like we do, to align, of course, the steps needed to go there. And for that, we have built a roadmap. Phil already presented where we will start with version 1, basically from today. And here you see version 1.1, which we have planned for the third quarter of 2014 to make that available, where we also not only address infrastructure aspects, which you could expect, of course, things like the API, which is now in a first release, that we will further establish that and fully document it. I think very important aspect for parties to have trust in using the platform. But also we have looked at other areas like commercial, networking, or the EGI aspect. You have seen it. This will be in the next release, that EGI users will be able then to use the Helix Nebula platform as a hybrid extension of their own environment, of their own grid and federated cloud environment. So these are the next steps in version 1.1. And here also documented the functions particularly important for the e-infrastructures domain, here with the example of EGI. Here the hybrid model will offer again a whole new set of functionalities to scientists, and we have identified scenarios which then could become state-of-the-art or routine, and following up from those activities that are identified, which have been published as part of the EC project, we will make those functionalities available together with EGI scientist groups. Then the next step will be at the end of the year, where we have planned version 1.2. Also again, looking at the full scope of functionalities that we want to build for this ongoing extensions of Helix Nebula. And here some new aspects come into place. Oops, go back here. Here you see, especially on the commercial side, we have seen the requirement, I think also repeated by some of the users again, that working with the marketplace should be absolutely simple. So our philosophy is that, yes, one time you have to, say, sign up an organization, which probably will take some contracting work or even a tender if needed in the public sector. But once an organization has signed up, the rest to our understanding, should be electronical. Yeah, so adding a new user, changing a cloud provider, or moving an application from cloud A to cloud B, all these things in terms of also contracting should be addressed in an electronic way by clicking through pre-defined menus and of course checking the rights or the authorizations in the system. Then we have, as an important aspect, to address the integration with the networking infrastructure. So you have seen that we are using already today Géant, based on a initial agreement to use data on the network in a pilot mode. By the end of the year, we think and really hope that this can be established into a general agreement so that traffic between users and clouds, or what we have seen from the ASA examples, between data providers and cloud providers or users, end users, can then be run in a routine way on the Géant existing infrastructure. That would be a big benefit, I think, for Europe, to use the existing what is in place, rather than start building from scratch again. And here you also see then the first platform as a service functions that will come in. Some examples you have already seen, so like the EC2 bridge, in a way, is also an element of the platform as a service, as you want, making users able to run applications from other third-party environments. And this we will extend to be able, also as a non-expert, to use the Helix Nebula marketplace to run your application environment, or to transfer your application environment from the existing into the new marketplace. So as a last picture, in the same way as you have seen it before, by the time we reach the end of the year, we really hope to be in this picture, the primary focus being to get more flagships, to get new customers, but also to get new suppliers, and really to create what we call a European footprint. So our vision would be that we almost in every member state at the end of the day can say that we can deliver even a local service if needed. For some applications very relevant, yeah, where is the service being run? And this will create more power, I think, more skill at the provider level. And for the users, especially the ones that are very professional, like the flagships you have seen here, we will have the full-blown API then to access the cloud through your own tools, through your own tool sets, or integrate the cloud within your hybrid environment to run the applications just as if they were in your own data center, or to use the platform tools that we will bring if you need to create new workflows or new application environments to run. So with that, I think I'm right on time. Happy to get your questions.
Rashida, okay.
Okay, so I understand from your presentation and also from the introduction earlier that the blue box service plays a central role in your infrastructure. So is it a single point of failure, or maybe a bottleneck for the system, or the architecture foresees some kind of replication or redundancy of that service?
Yeah, I think a good question. We should go back to Mr. Expert.
All right, thanks for the question. So we currently have a single geolocation of the service that we have. We're working on the ability to replicate this in hot-cold model, but I think the next step is obviously to have some sort of federated element to this, so that the state is managed across sites, and then you just pick up the closest to you, as you would have in any NoSQL setup. So that's I'm hoping that by the time we roll out 1.2, then we're going to have that element of redundancy and replication in place. And
in terms of workload, that was the second part of the question.
Sorry, which was?
Could it be a bottleneck in terms of workload?
I think the data flows that go through are not really data flows; they're control flows. So when you're deploying immutable deployments, basically the action is at the beginning to actually provision the system. Once the system has been provisioned, assuming you maintain an immutable deployment, then the job of the broker is done. Right? There's some monitoring information and so on, but this is non-critical. The criticality is being transferred to the cloud provider, and that's where things happen. If you switch to a future mode where we have mutable deployments, where then the broker is kept in the loop in order to grow and shrink your deployment, then yes, there's an element of criticality that is in place, but that's not part of what we're suggesting just yet. We are working on it, but that's not yet scheduled in this context.
Also, I would like to add something, that when the broker goes down, you don't lose all functionality of the cloud. What you lose is the ability to start new VMs and to terminate existing ones. But all running VMs are not running in the broker, they're running in the cloud providers. So they just keep working, they keep functioning, they're not dependent on the existence of the broker at that point in time. So the risk of losing a broker is, I would say, limited to all existing applications running, because they just keep running as nothing has ever happened.
Well, I've seen that you opened up the doors to new providers, and I assume those are infrastructure as a service
I call it them orange, yeah?
Yeah. Now, I represent
Maybe you understand why.
I represent a company which sits on top. I mean, we play in the broker area, and I see that there are many critical questions which are asked, and there are big challenges in brokering such a complex environment. Plus more features on, having intelligent brokering and things like that. So is there any opportunity to bring a new partner in this domain? Is it easy? Is it simple? Or everything is only open toward the provider?
Yeah, good question. So we have, of course, not been very active in this area. We first wanted to finish the development and really be able to launch now in a version 1. But we did have, over the last year, we had several discussions with both new users, candidates, as well as new providers on this onboarding process, as we call it. And I think from this perspective, we have already a lot of experience of how this process can be managed, and this will be part of the broker service. So creating a new customer and how to get into this rather than just signing a paper. This process has been already set up by the operator, and also the technical and organizational aspects of signing up a new provider have been discussed in detail, and the criteria have been published on the web page. So it's, I would say, in the best case, from starting a discussion all the way up maybe to running a first test, it could be really an effort of weeks rather than months. But of course, depending on the professionality of the cloud provider or what he wants to do, it could take longer, yes. But it's possible within weeks, I would say, if you have a running cloud as a provider, to connect it to the platform and start running first applications.
Yeah, my question was on being able to play in the upper space. Yeah, it's the same. I mean, the same facility exists, or
What?
Being
so have another broker.
Having another broker.
Or combining intelligence, like I'm open to partner with the existing solution, because we're having here a collective intelligence in order to move forward. Yeah. I'm not, if we want to compete, commercially that's fine. But for the sake of your project, I think you're having a partnership spirit, and I'm proposing to act on as a partner with the present broker provider, if possible.
Yes, okay. Then I understood the question, yes. Well, that's also an option which we have foreseen in the model. So we are not saying this is the one broker for everyone, because we know the diversity is tremendous, only in science to start with. So from the beginning, we have always assumed that there will be multiple brokers. And then, of course, it depends very much on how you, say, stay close to the structure that we have defined, because we have invested a tremendous time in terms of governance, in terms of contracting, in terms of procurement. If one would stay very close to those principles, then I think it can be done very fast, like white boxing and taking this to another maybe customer environment, or another market sector. Exactly.
Hi, my name is Khaled Kantke from Orange Business Services. So I certainly appreciate the color coding. I think it'll be very interesting to talk further and see what we can do.
Hello, my name is Andrea Manieri from Engineering. In one of your previous slides, number 3, I guess you show the different layers, infrastructure, the IaaS, the PaaS, and the info as a service. Can you comment a bit how you position yourself at the different levels with the current competitors or initiatives that are ongoing also in the science field? Because you are providing IaaS features that are commonalities, for instance, in Amazon Web Services, or even provided by European software like OpenNebula or some others. And you say that you want to go at the PaaS level, where already there are some initiatives, for instance, UDAT or iMarine, that are already addressed the data part. And then you say that at the info level, or the marketplace, you want to focus your business value. But again, there are some other initiatives in the future internet that already provide some marketplace for services and cloud services, in which I guess also Atos was involved. So how you position yourself in this ecosystem? Thank you.
Yes. Good, absolutely good point. We certainly do not want to be everything to everyone. That's, I think, from the cloud market, not possible, and not even with this, say, breadth of Helix Nebula. What we have, of course, the strengths of a very large group of companies already and users. But still, we were very, I think, from the various discussions. We were very much synchronized that we want to create a marketplace, yes, but it should be a marketplace which really focuses at particular aspects of the cloud market, being European, yes, really being maybe also the first, I don't know, but certainly one of the first to establish really this full European character of services, of handling data. And the second aspect is, of course, that we believe it must be taking the advantage of having a very large-scale federated environment. So every potential application, science, or maybe some others, or every potential organization that would require this type of large-scale federation within a European environment, that is our key focus. And that's why we, of course, not come from a pure classical cloud play. We are more focusing towards a particular demand in the market and try to cover that as soon as possible. I hope that gives you a direction.
Maybe I can add a little bit, because CERN has been a participant in EUDAT and in iMarine, so two initiatives there. For what concerns EUDAT, It's now, for the benefit of the audience, it's now offering some basic prototype data management services to members of its existing consortium. The intention, I believe, in the future is to make them more widely available. We have already been discussing with EUDAT about the idea of whether or not they can become part of the the marketplace as well, in the same sense of what we see like EGI, in the sense that they could offer data services. One of the key points that has to be understood with EUDAT for the moment is what's it actually offering in the future. Is it offering services or is it offering technology? If it's offering technology, one can imagine that many of these suppliers could deploy that technology and offer the services. But that question is still open. We're waiting for EUDAT to come back and say what its model is in for the future. For iMarine, we've been active in there in the past as well. And for me, it's looking at a particular sector as well. And again, I think I would see that as very similar in the sense of the style of usage and use case as described by ESA, where there are a number of data sets being brought together, be used for a number of different business sectors as well. Any other questions?
Andre, also regarding other EC projects, downstream service or whatever, so like Doris or Lampre, which is working the same way than we do on geohazards, on landslides, they could easily be accommodated in this scheme. So we think that this structure provides a home for many projects at the end, once they've finished to enter this level, to have it as a commodity being provided and be integrated with other projects.
Okay.
Thank you.
If there's no further questions, then thanks very much, Jurry.
Thank you.
Okay.